Wanting to reach the same heights as the notorious Conor McGregor, Ian Garry has hit the ground running in MMA with stunning performances in the cage and a high aptitude for spitting fire on the mic, which has attracted admirers as well as a ton of haters who want to see the Irishman and his controversial wife crying. The question is, why? The answer is in this video. Born and raised in Portmarnock, Ireland, Garry's journey in martial arts started with boxing, much like his idol Conor McGregor, whose sparkling entry in the UFC inspired Garry to pull off something similar down the road. To be like Ireland's biggest star, Garry started learning Judo and dropped out of the university to become a prize fighter. The Irish sensation first conquered the world of amateur MMA by winning 6 out of 7 fights, before turning professional in 2019 when he put his above-average skill set on display in Cage Warriors. Garry failed to live up to his hype in his professional debut when he won by a decision, but he set the Cage Warriors world on fire by knocking Matteo Seglia out with a head kick followed by a thudding knee strike. After putting his power and skill on display against the gritty Seglia, Garry put his grit and resilience on show in this third professional fight against Matus Figlak, who badly rocked the Irishman midway through the stanza. But not only was Garry able to recover, but he also came back to submit his opponent in less than 4 minutes. Garry's fourth professional fight was a walk in the park. He beat his opponent into a pulp and stopped him with a jab followed by an avalanche of strikes. The Irishman continued his reign of terror in the division by earning knockout victories against Jordan Tracy and Rostam Akman in his 5th and 6th professional fights to earn a Cage Warriors welterweight title shot. Garry battled the tough-as-nails Jack Grant for the vacant title and put a bad beating on his opponent, who fought like a maniac. No matter how many punches Garry threw Grant's way, he kept moving forward and stalking the Irish prospect like a zombie. But ultimately, Garry won by a comfortable decision. Around the same time, Garry met Layla Anna Lee, his love interest who'd soon become his wife, and put him in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. But more on that later. At 7-0 as a professional, Garry entered the UFC guns blazing as the successor to Conor McGregor, so expectations were obviously through the roof, but he didn't disappoint. Garry made his UFC debut in late 2021, where although he was pushed to the limit by Jordan Williams, he came back to win by a thunderous knockout. The Irishman's second and third UFC victories came by a decision, but his fourth one against Song Kenan was a roller coaster of emotions for his fans. Garry kicked things off by picking Kenan apart with hooks and low kicks, and he was cruising in round 1. But out of the blue, he was dropped with a counter left. The Irish star lost his senses for a split second, but returned from the dead quickly. Once Garry cleared the cobwebs, he pummeled the Chinese fighter and picked him apart to earn a late stoppage. But none of his victories were as impressive as the one against Daniel Rodriguez, a seriously powerful puncher who was supposed to be Garry's toughest career test. It was anything but. Garry controlled range and established his authority in the fight, before cracking Rodriguez with a crunching head kick followed by a relentless follow-up attack that ended D-Rod's night in a blink. Despite being 5-0 in the UFC, Garry was nowhere near a title shot, unlike Conor McGregor, who fought for the interim belt in his 6th UFC fight, meaning that Garry was missing something Conor had, and that thing was antics and showmanship. Up until the Rodriguez win, Garry had stayed relatively quiet. But the moment he was booked to face Jeff Neal at UFC 292, he resorted to pre-fight trash talking and shenanigans. including wearing a t-shirt with Neil's mugshot from when he was arrested for driving under the influence. The t-shirt was the idea of Gary's wife, Layla Anna Lee, a former TV presenter who writes books on how to be a wife and girlfriend of rich and famous athletes. Now, Neil wasn't very happy about Gary's t-shirt idea, but he couldn't make him pay for his transgressions since he had to pull out due to injury.
I don't know. I wasn't too pissed off about it. It was just annoying, and then, like, people thought it was funny. I'm like, you think that's funny? Like, there's nothing funny about it. Like, you put somebody's mugshot on a shirt and like that's funny. That's tasteless. That's, you know what I mean? No, I don't know.
But Gary continued to make headlines even when Neil Magny agreed to fight him on short notice. In one of their press conferences, things got heated between the two, and at one point, Magny said something about beating Gary up like a father gives a good old spanking to his child. Gary was furious and accused Magny as a child abuser.
Nobody, there is no right to ever put your hand on a kid, ever discipline anything.
You want to play victim so bad, bro.
Mate, you're a father. You never lay your fucking hands on a child ever.
You know exactly.
Yesterday.
At UFC 292, Gary made Magny pay for his poor choice of words by beating him from pillar to post and earning a comfortable decision victory. A few months later, Gary's personal life came under scrutiny when Sean Strickland cited his wife's book titled How to Be a Wag to accuse Layla Anna Lee of being a predator and Gary a fool for marrying an alleged gold digger.
But I remember thinking to myself, there ain't something right about that girl. There's something about that woman that ain't fucking right. The way she walked, the way she looked, the way she talked, I knew it. Now I'm finding out you're 26, she's fucking 40, the ex-fucking husband lives with you, you took the last name, motherfucker, she wrote a book on how to be a wag. I didn't even know what a wag was until now, dude.
Gary was trolled by people on social media after Strickland quote-unquote exposed him. And it even resulted in him pulling out of his scheduled fight against Vicente Luque at UFC 296, although he later revealed that the withdrawal was due to pneumonia. MMA fans don't believe him though, because they think he bailed out due to online bullying. Nevertheless, Gary will now face Jeff Neal at UFC 299, where Mr. Hands of Steel is hoping to teach the Irishman a lesson. But Gary is ready for whatever the American throws his way. He is a supremely talented person who has excellent striking coupled with a seriously good grappling skill set. But most important, it's his confidence that sets him apart from his peers. The Irish star is a danger for everyone in the UFC welterweight division, and he's coming to take everything guys like Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad are working for. Once he does that, Gary plans on moving up to middleweight and taking out guys like Israel Adesanya and Khamzat Chimaev. He wants to be a double champ and the biggest star in MMA, like Conor McGregor. He wants to give Ireland another reason to celebrate. He wants to be the best ever. But there's a tiny problem. Not many want him to succeed. Will Ian Garry manage to get his hands on the UFC belt? Share your thoughts, predictions, and opinions in the comments section below. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell to stay in the loop on all things combat sports. Stay tuned, fight fans.